Do y'all think that the better team won, or was this just a bad game?
They got a cloud hanging over their head.
You execute when you're supposed to execute, and we didn't do that. They were the better team in that game.
And welcome to another exciting episode of Pigskins and Pageantry, where we have current football games to discuss. I've really loved the past few weeks because not only have I learned new information about a ton of stuff, including 2 new teams in the SEC, obviously, but I feel like it's really been kind of like the embodiment of what our podcast is all about, where people of different fandoms can sit down together or on Zoom and talk about college football without getting into shouting matches or name calling, even though that makes for good television also. So, good stuff. So I really had a blast. And welcome to everyone who's probably just got done celebrating Labor Day, hanging out, maybe grilling out or whatever. Did you guys have a good Labor Day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your time out in the Northeast. Can't complain.
There you go. Yeah, I had some grilled burgers and dogs myself. Matt?
I didn't go anywhere because it's too hot outside still. I'm just gonna wait and
Still
until it cools
summertime
off,
in middle Georgia.
and then we'll go outside. Yeah, because even at 85 or 90 degrees in Georgia, it's still really uncomfortably hot.
Yeah. All right. Well, as we hinted, let's go ahead and talk about some of those matchups from last week.
Always remember, if you ain't first, you're last.
All right. Well, the first big one we're going to talk about is Clemson versus Georgia. Georgia did win this one 34-3. Jesse got the point here. So this was kind of interesting, and they didn't necessarily say it out loud, at least until, right at kickoff, where Trevor Etienne, he's suspended for this game and possibly more games. They asked Kirby Smart if he was going to be out for more, or if he was only going to be suspended for this game, and he said not necessarily. So it sounds like he may be out for more. Obviously, this one was a big one to be out but that was for his DUI over the summer. Game kind of started rough a little bit. The offense was kind of struggling. The defense was doing pretty well. But then Nate Frazier kind of emerged as someone who could really legitimately contend for RB1 as a freshman this year. He looked really good, had a great game, finished with 83 yards on the ground and a touchdown, and just showed off some real shiftiness as a back, kind of reminiscent of DeAndre Swift, as what the person they kept comparing him to. So I said this was going to be a close game at half, and it was 6-0 Georgia at half. And I did say that Georgia was going to pull away in the second half due to slightly more depth, and wonder where that depth came from. And look, I'm giving Dabo a hard time here. I'm not saying that all the depth came from the transfer portal, but the point being is that Dabo has a lot of questions to answer. Matt, let's go to you first. What do you got?
Listen, when this game went into the half, and I was like, Georgia, where are you? Because we had anticipated Clemson to be a team, but I don't think we were anticipating. Excuse me. We weren't anticipating them to stick around like they were, and they did stick around for a bit. But then Georgia's going to turn around in the second half and pull away. Again, Georgia absolutely thrashed them at the line of scrimmage. I was watching a couple plays because I didn't have a chance to watch this one. I was watching a couple plays when Clemson was trying to block their defensive line, and Clemson was just not able to get a solid block on near anybody, especially in that second half, which makes sense when you look at the total yards. They only had 189 yards total offense in this game. Georgia's got a nasty, nasty defense. I was underwhelmed with Cade Klubnik again. I know everybody loves him some Cade Klubnik if you're a Clemson Tiger, but his performance wasn't that great. He had 142 of the 189 yards that they got, so not a very good day for Clemson. Dabo's going to have to do some serious soul searching, I think, because he showed you right there that they can't hang in this post-portal, post-NIL period, I don't think. I keep seeing tweets on Twitter about how Dabo is. No, it's Twitter, Wes. We've had this conversation. You keep seeing tweets about how without 2 generational quarterbacks, Clemson's nada, which is I feel fairly accurate. And let's look at the ACC right now. They're not looking so hot. They've had a serious number of key losses in the last 2 weeks, so it's not looking good in Clemson. But again, kudos to Georgia. Carson Beck continues to look a little bit like a character from Lord of the Rings, but he continues to haul the mail and does a pretty good job, almost 300 yards in the air. So overall, not a bad outing for UGA.
Jesse, your thoughts?
Oh, wait,
Yeah, I
Jesse, if I
mean,
could cut you off real quick. I forgot to mention also, I was a name that popped up is Lennon Humphreys,
Yes.
who I was unfamiliar with your game, sir. He had himself one, so kudos to
Yeah.
him. Sorry, Jesse.
Transfer from Vandy.
Yep.
a lot of people left Vandy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they were even talking about it on College Game Day, where they told Dabo, when they were talking to him, they were like, hey, people have said that because you're not giving into the transfer portal that you're going to have some issues. And he kind of laughed it off and said, well, it's really important to make sure you have consistency in the locker room, and it's hard to, when you have new guys coming in and out, and get them to buy into the program. I think it might be better to get people to buy into the program. That's what we're seeing, truly. And the most exciting thing, or the best thing that came out of Clemson on Saturday, was Dabo's suggestion that on College Game Day, Nick Saban should cut off his sleeves and do somewhat of a Pat McAfee look.
Yeah.
That was the best thing for Clemson. Otherwise, UGA did exactly what we anticipated them to do.
Yeah.
What did Dennis Green used to say? They
are
are
who we thought they were.
we are.
Yes. And that sounds all well and good and everything about, the locker room, and, maybe new guys can be divisive and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, if push comes to shove, you really need somebody who can jump into that spot, who may have some veteran experience, and
You need
and
depth,
we've seen that across the board.
yes, you want people to be there. You want to invest in the guys that you recruit initially. Like, I get that, but Dabo, you also want a job.
Right.
I assume. I mean, maybe I'm wrong in that assumption, but you want a job, and if you're going to do that, you're going to have to
May not
take
have
a play out of the Lane Kiffin playbook, sir.
Yeah.
Who's going to end up in Florida before this is all said and done?
Oh, and the shade coming out of Dan Mullen
Dan
on
Mullen.
Twitter.
Oh man, we'll talk about that in a minute.
The shade.
We'll come back to that.
All right, well, let's jump to Virginia Tech at Vanderbilt. Vandy won this one in exciting fashion, 34-27. Nobody got the point here because we didn't pick Vandy, which, it's understandable, right? This was an exciting back and forth game that went to overtime, where Vandy scored and then their defense stood up and stopped Virginia Tech to secure the win. I got a soft spot in my heart for Vandy, and people who watch the show are probably like, what's up? Why do you like Vandy? Why are you always talking about their Arboretum? But the thing is that it's not just about the Arboretum. I feel about Vandy, people, they talk about the SEC, they're like, well, you can't just, say the SEC is the best because they're top to bottom, not great. And look at Vandy, they're terrible. In my mind, if Vandy represents well, then that makes all of us look. But if the bottom team in your conference can represent, then that makes everybody else look good. So I got a little bit of soft spot.
And beat a dark horse for the ACC championship this year.
Right.
According to a lot of the analysts, Virginia Tech was going to make some noise. Could potentially good.
Virginia Tech was a bigger opponent than my team played.
Same for us.
Yeah. So
argument could be made. Same for Clemson.
Yeah. So Jesse, what were your thoughts on Vandy able to get the win here?
I'm so proud for them. This is huge. I mean, it's not a conference win, and that's what I think they really, really want, since it evaded them last year. But what an exciting thing to come in, start your season with a win, because at Vandy, you really do need that to ignite that passion, to get people to stay. We were just talking about the transfer portal, and Vandy was eviscerated by it. Going out of last season. So I think this is a positive thing for them. Again, the threshold for winning is low at Vandy, and you can still keep your job, but I'm excited for them. This is something where they beat a bigger opponent than most of us played in the SEC. That's amazing. Congrats.
Yeah.
This week is for you, Vandy. This week is for you.
And Clark Lee calling the defense now. I kind of noticed it seemed like the defense was looking pretty good out there. Matt, what are your thoughts?
I'm gonna tell you to hold on to
Better,
that statement real
better.
quick, Wes. I mean, they did give up almost over 300 yards in the air to Kyron
Uh,
Jones. So
they gave up almost 400 total, 3 shy of 400 total.
yeah. So I mean, we're
What
it's
do we
kind
say
of
about that
iffy
low bar?
there. Okay,
Close.
you make a solid point. You make a solid point. First off, I don't know if you guys have seen this week's SEC shorts.
Mm-mm.
I did
Yeah,
see a little bit of it. The pizza party.
you should watch it because there's a pizza party. They throw a pizza party for all the teams that had blowouts this week, and I'm not going to spoil it, but there's a particular part with Vanderbilt when they come in that is
I
probably
gotta
one of
check
the
it out.
funniest things I think I've ever seen in my life.
Let
So
them
anyway,
get the schoolhouse slice of pizza for the pizza party. That's an
man,
eighth of a regular slice.
it was really good. But anyway, I do want to brag on Vanderbilt. You know, usually as a Tennessee fan, I don't have anything good to say about that team from the middle of the state. But you know, kudos to them. I mean, this was a game where it looked like Vandy was going to Vandy. It looked like Vanderbilt was going to let this thing get away from them.
It's fair.
And then the defense stood tall on fourth down and was able to keep Virginia Tech out of the end zone in overtime. It was a really exciting ending of the game. I was really impressed with Diego Pavia. I thought he looked pretty good. He had almost 200 yards in the air, 100 yards on the ground, over 100 yards on the ground. So, I mean, he did everything he could to get the Commodores some points. Defense did a pretty good job of holding him in the first half. Second half, things kind of fell off a little bit. But, you know, big win for Vandy. Clark Lee's got to feel good about this. Now, yeah, the question is, where do you go from here and how do you build from this win?
Exactly. Yep. And some more. We'll see more about that coming up real soon. And now, Miami at Florida.
Oh,
Miami
no.
winning this one 41-17. Jesse gets the point here. Hey, Miami and Cam Ward, they looked really good. Florida, not so much. And to make matters worse, Graham Mertz suffered a concussion during this game, and true freshman DJ Lagway came in. He might be a point of encouragement for Florida fans. I don't know. We're looking for silver linings everywhere if you're a Florida fan at this point. But just yeah, I mean, just overall a real struggle of a game. Matt, your thoughts on Miami at Florida?
First off, I was really, really hoping that Florida was going to find a way to make this work. But obviously that didn't pan out. Miami came in and basically just ran the show from the get. They looked really good offensively. Like you said, Cam Ward looked really good. I've heard his name's being thrown around for potential Heisman. Again, it's incredibly too early for that sort of talk. But he did look really good. Almost over 400 yards of total offense just by himself. Florida just looked real sluggish. They looked like they couldn't really get anything going. And the defense was out of place a lot. And just the secondary looked very suspect at times. Incredibly suspect at times. This was just a bad game all around. For Florida. One of the big things that came out of this, though, at the very end, though, and I don't know if y'all saw this, and I'm basing all of this off stuff I saw on Twitter. After the game was over, as Miami players were making their way to the locker room, apparently their path to the locker room from the field went right by where all the Florida recruits were all piled up. And there's video of them saying, don't go here. We run the state. Come to Miami. It's just a really, really, really bad look for Billy Napier and for the Gators. And I can't find the tweet. I'll have to find it again. But I saw the numbers for where Napier is as far as win-loss against the top 25, win-loss against opening week opponents. Like it was a really, really bad tweet with a bunch of awful stats for Sunshine Billy. This is not pretty. This is looking bad. Napier's seat has got to be red hot right now. It's just not good. It's not good at all. Jesse, you go ahead. I'm gonna see if I can't find this tweet because it's bad.
I mean, it's just I think it was Sports Center or somebody like that kind of summed it up during the game where it showed this sweet Florida fan, God bless him, and he just had like a towel on his head. He was laying like this against the, one of the partitions, and he was just like, And then he sat up a little bit. Florida scored. Things might have been like, okay, maybe we have some positive momentum. And then he was just like right back down. It was sad.
Yeah.
Everything went wrong. for Florida, unfortunately. And I truly don't know how you start to pick yourself up when you're in this spot starting. Now, granted, yes, they played Miami, which again is a bigger opponent than most of the SEC played, for sure. But when there's already questions going into the season about your head coach, about the locker room and the buy-in, you've had transfers, and then you lose, at the start of the season, and not only lose, but you lose to someone that's a rival in your state. It's really, really rough to come back from that. And I have to imagine that the players are not feeling great. They're not feeling encouraged. And as we teased a minute ago, Dan Mullen reposted this tweet, which was it was throwing some shade.
Reposted with no comment, but no comment needed.
No comment.
No, hold on. Let's be very clear about this. This is dripping in shade. Like, this has all sorts of there's a lot going on here, especially if you know the history but go ahead.
It is so much fun to just observe. But he retweeted this tweet that said, the Florida coach that got fired went to 3 consecutive New Year's Six games in his first 3 years and was let go in his 4th season. There was no commentary. He retweeted it and continued. And then the person from Saturday Down South that retweeted that or screenshotted that said, to quote Shabuzi, oh my, good Lord. And like, that is truly all you need to know about the state of Florida football right now. Oh my, good Lord.
Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad.
There are just some coaching jobs that, whether it be inherently or because it's just sort of become this way over time, I just think of as sort of toxic jobs. Florida, if they weren't there already, is fast going in that direction where it's just like, who can coach there, right? Because who can turn a program around fast enough for people to be satisfied?
Is wild, because historically, Florida is a very easy place to recruit.
For sure,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, sure, Gainesville is not a metropolis. Like, you're not like, ooh, you're going to Miami, but it is a place that has been historically very successful. You have a lot of people that are successful at the next level in the NFL. You've had big name hires, big name coaches. You have deep pockets with the boosters. It should not be this hard.
Right.
Hey, guys, I got some numbers for you. And if you're a Florida fan, you may want to skip ahead. You don't want to hear this right now. Napier right now, and then this is according to an article that I just found, because I was looking for the tweet, but I found the article instead. Napier falls to 11-15 in Gainesville. He's 2-10 against ranked opponents, 1-8 against rivals Miami, Florida State, Georgia, LSU, and Tennessee. But wait, it gets worse. The Gators lost their 6th consecutive game overall, and the end of their 33-game winning streak in home openers. That started with Steve Spurrier way back in 1990.
You don't want to be that guy.
No.
Now, he's still got a $25 million buyout, so I don't foresee them taking him anywhere. Like, even if they get impatient, that's a lot of money.
But as we said,
Fisher was a lot of money.
And I'm sure.
Yeah, but Texas has Florida. They have oil money. They got
Florida
money.
has money, though.
Yeah, it's
Florida
true.
has money.
And like we said at least twice before on this show, and I'm sure people Florida fans are tired of us saying it. If there's another losing season down in Gainesville, you have to go back to the 1940s to find a streak of 3 years in a row like this. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Florida fans. It will get better. It just probably won't get better under this coach.
Yeah, I guess so.
I got to tell you, I have, and Wes, you probably feel this way too. Jesse, maybe you not so much, but I have nothing but hate and vitriol for the University of Florida. Anytime I drive through Florida, I have to go through Gainesville, and I usually give my finger to the University of Florida as I drive by it. But I feel bad. I legitimately feel bad for people that are Florida fans. There was a video on Twitter, again, that my buddy Charlie sent me, of this Florida fan. He's sitting in a Denny's parking lot like really just contemplating all of his life choices. And he's like, Florida's got me sitting in a Denny's parking lot, thinking about going in, ordering a plate full of bacon, and ending it all. Like that's where they have Florida fans at right now.
Get the Grand Slam.
Sad.
Yeah.
You'll feel a little bit better,
Yeah.
marginally better.
Yeah. There's also there's a PDQ down in Gainesville that we usually stop at on the way when we're down headed down towards Orlando. We'll stop at that one. It's a good quality
You know,
establishment.
The thing is, will Florida football let you down? Probably.
Yeah.
But will a Denny's Grand Slam?
Yeah.
No.
I don't
Matt's
know.
like,
Listen, I had a Denny's. I've been to a Denny's in North Florida that made me question a lot of things about myself.
Yeah.
There were poor decisions made when I ordered that breakfast. It was not a good day for me.
Yeah.
Just saying, it was not a good day.
Yeah. So the only thing that may not make me feel so bad about Florida fans is that as soon as they're on the rise again, that they're going to be the same old Florida fans. So that part makes me feel not quite as bad for them. But yes, it is rough to watch. Now let's move to Notre Dame at Texas A&M. Notre Dame winning this one 23-13. Matt was the only one to pick Notre Dame, so congrats, Matt.
Okay.
I was partially right in this game. I did say that this was Connor Wigman was going to be the story, which is partially correct. But he just never really looked comfortable out there against Notre Dame. And Notre Dame, to their credit, was really able to just kind of grind out this win in the end and sort of pull away in the end with that last field goal as well. So gutsy performance by Riley Leonard. Seems like a good kid. So, kudos to him as well. Jesse, your thoughts on Notre Dame at Texas A&M and Notre Dame being able to get a win at rowdy Kyle Field?
Yeah, this was honestly probably the best game to watch on Saturday.
Watched it on my big projector. So.
Yeah, I mean, I love watching Alabama regardless of what the score is, and I watched every single second of it. But this one was fun to watch, especially towards the end. I mean, it was anxiety inducing. I can't imagine being a Texas A&M fan, but Notre Dame ended up pulling it out there. And you're absolutely right when you say to pull it out in Kyle Field, because it was a night game in Kyle Field, new coach. I mean, that had to be an electric environment. You had College Game Day there, you had Von Miller there. I mean, things were intense. So for Notre Dame to win, that was huge. However, let me temper the 2.5 Notre Dame fans that have stumbled upon us and are like,
why are y'all? How'd you wander in here? Like,
I don't know. The directions were lost. Again, Texas A&M coming off of a terrible season. New coach, which again, they did pretty well. I'm not buying the Notre Dame ranked as high as they are. I'm sorry, not sorry. So Notre Dame, don't celebrate too hard. But Texas A&M, I would say, be encouraged. This was a good performance. They seem to gel pretty well on the field, and there seems to be a new spark around Kyle Field for this team, because it wasn't going to get lower. So if I'm a Texas A&M fan, I'm looking forward to the season and to see what comes of it, because again, it's not going to be as bad as it was. Clean up the turnovers. Again, whoever wins that turnover battle is probably going to win the game, and that certainly happened here.
Matt, your thoughts on Notre Dame, Texas A&M?
Well, I was a little disappointed that A&M didn't find a way to pull this one out, because I thought they'd find a way. I mean, I did pick Notre Dame, but I mean, a night game at Kyle Field, it's a new era in College Station. Like, you figured the juice would be there, and the fans were there. I mean, they definitely were there with their cult stuff. But anyway, I'm sorry if you're an A&M fan. It's all just light ribbing, nothing serious. It is a cult though. Yeah, A&M's defense just couldn't do anything to shut down their quarterback. It couldn't do anything to kind of get that rolled down. I think he had almost, or sorry, not him by himself, but they had like over 200 yards running on the ground. And they got outscored 17-7 in the second half. And it's really hard to win a football game when you're giving up more points in the second half than you did than you scored. So yeah, this is a little bit of a step back for A&M. I mean, we knew they were going to be a little bit iffy coming out. Um, and I'm with Jesse on this. I don't think Notre Dame's as lights out as they're going to probably crow that they are. And again, if you're in Notre Dame land and you get mad at that, don't get mad at us. We're just telling you what we've seen, because y'all have been top 20 for 100 years. And how many natties have you guys got since the 80s? One. Same as Tennessee, so I know that's there. But it's just again, they got to bounce back. They got to find a way to make things happen. But kudos to the Irish for going into a hostile environment and coming out with a win.
Yeah. All right. Well, next let's go to USC versus LSU. USC winning this one in the end, 27-20. Nobody got the point here. None of us picked USC. It was kind of I mean, it was an exciting game to watch. As someone who is just a fan watching, it was exciting to watch. Nussmeier looked really good. And USC and Miller Moss, they came to play. I was texting y'all during the game. I was like, man, these guys are for real. And but I'm not sure like if USC's offense is just that good, or man, maybe if LSU's defense is just that bad. I don't know. Matt, what do you think? What are we looking at?
It's probably a little combo of both. Both quarterbacks for these teams played lights out. I mean, they were swinging the ball every which way. Nussmeier had moments where he looked great. I mean, he had over 300 yards passing, so that's not a bad night out. And I think the only interception he had was a deflection, if I remember correctly. Or maybe that's another game I'm thinking of. I can't remember. But yeah, again, just one of those situations where I feel like LSU probably could have found a way to win this thing, but really bad penalties at the last couple of minutes too, kind of did them in. I think there was a personal foul penalty and a couple other things that kind of set it up to where they couldn't pull it out in the end. Plus they got outscored
targeting
14 to They got outscored 14-3 in the fourth quarter, and it's really hard to win a ball game when you're minus 11 in the fourth quarter as far as scoring goes. So.
Yeah.
And also, Brian Kelly with his little temper tantrum at the end was not.
We're going to talk about
not a good
Kelly.
look. Not a good look. Not a good look. Not a good
It
look.
has not looked favorable for him on the social medias.
No. And just to sort of crumble there, then they were going to hold them to a field goal attempt to win, but then just defensively just crumbled and they rushed it in and scored a touchdown instead. Jesse, your thoughts?
Yeah, this was truly a game of offense. I mean, 450 total yards for USC, 421 total yards for LSU. That's insane. I mean, that's nuts. And of course, that's how we've kind of been trending in the past couple seasons with all offense. And I don't care what conference you're in. That's all conferences have been offense. And traditionally that was not the SEC, but we have seen it trend down for the defense in the SEC. And
has been for the last 15 years.
Yeah, not great. And you're right. I think Matt was dead on where it's a combination of both. I think USC had a good offense. People were firing on all cylinders. LSU also did. But like you said, that defense seemed to crumble. And they didn't do well in high pressure situations. Now we know that the first game of the season is not always indicative of the performance the rest of the season, right? Things change. You've got new guys in the locker room. A lot of places have new coaches. You have places that you're not used to playing. You're going to a different coast. All of that. Things are happening. And it's a combination of all of those factors into one that are going to make the first game of the season, for some, not indicative of how they're going to perform the rest of the season. I think that's probably going, I hope, for LSU fans, the way that it'll go for LSU. Hopefully they can look back at this game, watch the film, and determine, hey, we didn't step up when we needed to on defense, and really start to hit that in practice. Looking at you, defensive coordinator, and Brian, grow up, Brian, grow up.
A poor water bottle.
Grow up, Brian.
You're talking about that personal foul. That targeting was because of the targeting. The guy who replaced the safety who got ejected for targeting is the one who took a bad angle on that final play, got kind of caught up with the tight end, and therefore wasn't there to make the tackle in the middle. Now, the guy would have had a large gain, but probably wouldn't have scored the touchdown. So a lot of moving pieces there that contributed to that kind of crumbling at the end. So, yeah, I understand the frustration.
Don't be discouraged, LSU fans. You played a bigger opponent than most of us did. You put up a hell of a fight. There's a lot of offense there. There's some things to clean up on defense, certainly, especially before you go into conference play. But just relax. It's the first game of the season. It's not where you're going to be midseason.
Yeah, but
Like,
you know LSU fans are not going to
I know.
relax. They are not going to take the.
I
I mean,
know.
they haven't taken it well.
Well,
You don't have to go very far on
Yeah.
any social media right now to see that they're panicking.
well, especially
And
how things
you're
have gone.
losing. You're going from a Jaden Daniels like Heisman Trophy winner, and again,
Yeah.
quarterback did great, Nussmeier did great, but it's just different.
Different, yeah.
You're going to
It's a
have
different
growing
style.
pains. It's going to be that way. You're gonna be okay. I promise.
Yeah.
We hope.
All right. Well, most of the rest of these games over the weekend were blowouts. We're
Mm.
definitely not going to waste everyone's time by discussing each one of those line by
Sam
line.
Pittman, you
But
you
yeah,
show up. You
that's
come.
right. 70
through,
points on the
Cam.
board. But Jesse, I wanted to get your perspective. The game one under Kalen DeBoer. What are your thoughts? What's the vibe? Look, I know it was a lesser opponent. It was a blowout, but just what are your thoughts?
I ain't mad about it. I got Nick Saban all morning on College Game Day, and then I had a Bama win. I'm not mad about it. But I think it was great. Obviously, we played Western Kentucky, and no matter what TJ Finley said, that it's not the Western Kentucky you're used to. Like, come on. Had we lost this game, it would have been an absolute riot. There would have been anarchy.
Oh, that would have been funny.
It would have been awful. But to have a shutout, I think for Kalen DeBoer, that's great. In his press conference, he said it was a lot of fun. The Walk of Champions is a lot of fun, despite it being a downpour at that particular time in the day. For me, I was really happy with Jalen Milroe. I thought, he was composed. He did well. Ty Simpson came in, got some snaps, which was great. And then, of course, we had a couple interceptions, which is awesome. A lot of the guys that were either young guys or transfers came in and really started to make their mark and show that they were here to play, which is great to see. So for me, Williams was obviously the one that everybody's going to be talking about. And it was great. 2 TDs for him. He really came in and he said, okay, I'm at this program. I'm here to show out. And it truly felt like the same discipline that we're used to. And it felt like that next man up mentality that we're also used to of, sure, somebody goes to the NFL, somebody transfers, next guy up, next guy up. So I'm really excited for Kalen DeBoer and for this team. It's a different feel for sure to see Coach Saban in his box rather than on the sidelines, but I'm looking forward to it. However, it is Western Kentucky, so we'll see what happens when we play a conference opponent or a ranked opponent.
Right. And sort of shifting gears a little bit, Matt, wanted to turn it over to you. Obviously, this is kind of our first look at Nico Iamaleava. I think I pronounced that correctly. I've been working on
Got it.
And
Yeah. Glad
so
you
this
got
is
it. I'm still struggling.
this is our kind of first look at him running the show there at Tennessee. Can you kind of articulate the difference between the way the offense looks this year versus the offense last year? Anything that you've noticed?
So, first off, I want to go on record as saying that I was pretty pleased with how this game worked out. The first half, Tennessee's offense, I really feel like if you kept the starters out there all 4 quarters, they just scored 100 plus, no problem.
Yeah.
They were clicking on every which level you can. Nico, when you look at how quarterback play looks this, at least in game 1 versus game 1 last year, Nico has a lot more finesse on his throw. Joe Milton could throw it 1,000 miles. The problem is that even the little underneath stuff, like little 5-yard dig routes or anything like that, like he was burning them in. And nothing against Joe. Joe does a great job. Just Nico has that little bit of touch, and he's able to put the ball right where he needs to put it. There were a couple of plays in this game where Nico was able to put it just right between 2 or 3 different defenders, able to find those soft spots in the zone that no offense to Joe Milton. Joe Milton probably would have burned it and overthrown it, or it would have bounced off their hands or something along those lines. It looked very Hendon Hooker-esque, which made me very excited. Nico looked really good in this game. Gaston Moore, when he came in, looked pretty good. That was that tip drill interception. It was the one for Gaston that I was thinking of. Tennessee's run game looked good. Dylan Sampson came in and got 124 yards and 12 carries. That's a great day at the office for him. 3 TDs in this particular game. The name that, and I said last week I was expecting this game to be Squirrel White and Brew McCoy's coming out party. Apparently I forgot that Dante Thornton Jr. was on the roster, and Dante Thornton had a day. 3 catches for 105 yards and 2 TDs is a great day for him. The wide receiver room is incredibly deep. And I think that's going to be a boon for Tennessee. Now, I do want to temper my expectation a little bit because this is against Chattanooga, and no offense to Chattanooga, they were in the running to win their conference last year in the Southern Conference, I think it was. So, I mean, they're not a bad team per se, but we took care of business, so to speak. And was pretty thrilled with how things looked. Another thing about this game is we had 5 tackles for loss against Chattanooga. Defensive line played really well. Boo Carter, who's one of the secondary players, was also all over the field in this particular game. There's a lot to be excited about for Tennessee. It's going to be interesting to see how we match up in a couple weeks when we get into SEC play. And I'm really curious what we're going to look like against NC State this upcoming week. Because NC State had some trouble last week putting their team away.
They did.
I do have one particular thing just to call out as we look at the teams that maybe had blowouts, right? That we don't want to get too deep into. So Arkansas put up 70 points. Missouri put up 51. OU 51. Tennessee 69. Texas 52. Mississippi State 56. Alabama 63. Ole Miss 76. Good God. Auburn 73. And Kentucky 31.
And that was in a shortened game.
You'll notice that out of all of the teams that we've talked about thus far and the ones that I just mentioned, we are missing one that did not put up 50 or even 30 or more points. And so Carolina fans, I want to check in on you. I want to see how you're doing because you did win against Old Dominion, but it was 23-19.
And that was last minute.
It was last minute, and I want to see, first of all, how you're doing. Second of all, if you're still around. What is happening?
I have nothing. I don't know.
I don't know how to approach this.
I don't know. It's something I know you can say that, it's hard to get up for some of these lesser opponents, which goes back to coaching. I know there's a lot of questions on replacing talent there at SC, but I got nothing. That should not happen, even given all that. So
you schedule Old Dominion week 1 so you get the fan base excited about a win.
Exactly.
Okay.
You've done the exact opposite.
The fan base is less than thrilled.
Did you guys see Shane Beamer's post-game interview?
I did not.
No.
Oh, I'll send you the clip. I got to find it again.
I feel like it probably wasn't great. It probably wasn't good look.
No, this was on the field right after the last whistle. And I can't remember. I think it was the reporter for whichever channel was doing it. They were interviewing Shane, and Shane literally does this. He's smiling in the interview, and the minute the interview's over, he goes like this: "Thank you." Like low key, like his whole face just looks like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing.
Kind of like that meme of the guy who's taking a selfie in the crowd, or his girlfriend's taking a selfie, and as soon as she brings the camera down, he's like that.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'll find it in a minute and send it to you. I want to point out something, and I texted y'all earlier. Let me find the text because I said it to you, and I'm going to continue to say this. I'm getting old. I can't see my phone anymore.
He's not giving up.
I'm not giving up on this. It is a hill I'm prepared to die on. Where the heck is this tweet or this text? Hold on. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll get to it.
It's like Beamer was.
Here it is. The further we get from the 22 season, the more I'm convinced that Beamer cheated and got stuff from Michigan to beat Tennessee and Clemson. I stand by it. I look like Chip Kelly. I stand by it. I am convinced the man can't coach. I'm convinced he is Butch Jones version 2.0.
Well,
Ooh.
find the legal team that
Without the
cares
funny,
enough,
snarky things
and
to
you
say.
can pursue legal action. I don't know, man.
No,
So
no one's going to pursue legal action because it's like, okay, he won like 2 games. It's not
right,
worth
that's
it.
what I'm saying.
Guys, he's 21 and 18 right now. 21 and 18. He should be 19 and 20. 19 and 20 with a awful record against teams above 500.
Hey,
He
Matt,
should
I
be.
can't say a whole lot because if he'd have done the same thing against my team, I probably would have been just as mad. So,
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah. It's
Um,
completely understandable, and it's completely illogical. But the longer
Right.
this Connor Stallion stuff keeps flying around in the news, the
Yeah.
more I'm convinced. And we
I
have not
haven't
seen a
watched
decent South Carolina product in 2 years.
I haven't watched the Netflix documentary yet, but I'm planning on it.
I find it hilarious that there's already a document. They're still researching stuff, and there's already a
Well,
documentary.
the best part is the cover of the Netflix documentary is literally him right by Harbaugh. Like
Right.
Harbaugh's
But
like making
Harbaugh
a
had no
face,
idea.
but Harbaugh had no idea. He's like, I don't
Harbaugh's
even.
so full. My move,
I know, and that's my favorite. Is Harbaugh's like, I didn't know, and I was like, he's literally standing next to you.
Yeah. Harbaugh's philosophy is the best defense is a good offense, and he's just going to go tearing out after people saying, no, this is not the case. But anyway, we digress.
Speaking of Harbaugh, hold on before we
Okay.
get off this
Let's
Harbaugh thing.
digress some more.
If you look at Harbaugh's record before Connor Stallions gets on his staff, it's not that great.
Yeah.
No.
But then when
Oh,
Connor
yeah,
Stallions gets on the
Harbaugh, he
staff,
struggled. Yeah.
it's lights
Big time.
out because he was sending him to videotape teams. They cheated. Do something about it, NCAA. Do something about it.
No,
Yeah,
NCAA is
not
too
for 6
busy
years.
banning
Hashtag
QR codes
NRAM.
on the back of helmets. So
We're
And trying to
everything's-
take away what was it they were
yeah,
trying to do
what
today?
was that I
They
sent you? Something
they
involving the transfer portal, right? Maybe.
yeah, they
I
want to
don't
get
know.
rid of like some, I don't remember. By the
I'll
way,
have to look at it
one
again.
other little neat note that happened this week is you had a player in his 9th year
Yes,
of eligibility score a
it's
touchdown
Miami,
in
right?
a Florida
At
game.
Miami,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that dude
Miami.
was recruited with, was it Bo Nix? I think it was the same. He was the same sign
Yeah.
class as Bo Nix. No, not Bo Nix. Who was the Oregon quarterback that was so good a couple years ago?
Before
I can't
Bo
remember.
Nix.
Yeah,
Anyway,
before Bo Nix. It doesn't matter,
yeah.
but that's a fun
But
little
these
thing.
guys in their late 20s starting college football games, I love it. So,
Yeah.
all right. So let's move. Well, first of all, before we move, pick 'em points. I've got 6. Jesse has 5. Matt has 3. We're gonna have a lot more. The board is going to be similar next week in terms of number of games because I think there's only one interconference game, so we're going to have a lot of picks to make next week as well, or for this upcoming week as well. But before we get there, let's go ahead and move to a fun opinion segment.
Sir, if I may venture an opinion.
I'm not really interested in your opinion, 3PO.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
All right, so before we get into the actual meat of this question, LSU has not won a season opener since 2019. Okay, 2019 is the last time they won a season opener. That was the year that they won the Natty. All right, Brian Kelly has not won a season opener with LSU. Despite that, obviously, they have rebounded. And last year, we even asked at one point, is Brian Kelly's rebuild ahead of schedule, or should we pump the brakes on that? Now, most of us said pump the brakes on that. We got a lot of hate for that. You go to TikTok, we got introduced to LSU fans in ways that we didn't really care to. We were told STTDB, and I'm not going to go into that. But at this point, I think we might need to ask ourselves maybe an even more important question, and that is, has Brian Kelly hit a wall? And what I mean by that is, have we seen the most that he can accomplish with elite talent at LSU? And I'm not even just talking about LSU here, but we've got a body of work with him at Notre Dame as well to look at this. I mean, if he didn't get it done last year with Jaden Daniels, Heisman winner, elite level quarterback, will it ever happen? Matt, let's start with you first. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, just to give everybody a little bit of context, I went back and I looked up which teams that they've played in their season openers. So 2020 it was Mississippi State, UCLA in 2021, Florida State in 22 and 23, and then USC in 24. When you look at that slate of teams, Mississippi State in 2020, UCLA, no, Florida State, kind of, yeah, and then USC kind of as well. As far as has he hit a wall? I think it's a little too early to say that. We keep waiting for LSU to take it to the next level since they hired Chip Kelly, and
Brian Kelly.
it's just not. Or sorry, Brian Kelly. I keep saying Chip Kelly for some reason.
Logical.
Yeah, it's the Kelly's throwing me off. We're waiting for him to get there, and we haven't seen it yet. There've been a couple of times where we have gotten him close, but again, nothing that really stands out as fantastic. I mean, the guy has an overall winning record of 283 and 104, so the guy can win football games. But when you get into bowl games where you play outside of your normal stuff, he's 8-5 in bowl games. I don't know what his record is up against top 25 right now, but I would be willing to bet it's not much better than 500. Some LSU fans probably screaming at his TikTok app right now because I just said that. But I don't know. I really don't think. I hesitate to say that he's not the guy, but at the same time, there's a lot of things around it that make me go, he may not be the guy. He might not be.
Well, winning allows people to forgive a lot, and but Jesse, has Brian Kelly and his family, have they enjoyed all the success that they're going to have at LSU, or are we? I don't know.
I don't know. I agree with Matt in that I think it might be too soon to tell if he's hit a wall. His resume out of Notre Dame compared to what you hope you're hiring, right? And that would be a national championship winning coach, was not as impressive. Now, Notre Dame fans are probably disagreeing with me. LSU fans might be disagreeing with me. I don't think Brian Kelly's resume coming out of Notre Dame was as stellar as you would want. Now him at LSU, he came in and he's following up a Coach O who I know after the 2019 season fell off, but you have that hype around the 2019 season. You have that standard of what was set at LSU to win a national championship. That's a hell of a standard to follow. That season will never be replicated ever, anywhere. I don't care where you are. It's never going to be replicated. It was absolute insanity. It was insanity to watch, to be a victim of. It was nuts. and you're just not going to get that. So those expectations, I think, for those outside of LSU who are just looking and making judgments on it, are really high. And those probably at LSU are really high because you have, that's the national championship taste that's been left in your mouth. And you're not getting that thus far with Brian Kelly. You're just not. And that's not necessarily a dig on Brian Kelly. That's not to say he can't ever do it. That's where you are right now. He has had a Heisman winning quarterback, and that's a great thing to have. That bolsters your program. That helps with recruiting.
Right.
However, not everyone is a national or a Heisman winning quarterback or a Heisman winner.
Right.
So I think it's too early to say. And I also say that if I'm Brian Kelly, depending on how the season goes, we know that the patience at any SEC school, but especially a school like an LSU that has had success and that expects success, the patience is a thin characteristic there. It is at a lot of schools. So if I'm Brian Kelly, I'm hitting practice hard. I'm making sure these young men are going to perform, and I'm trying to figure out how we can become a successful program, and one that now you can't rely on saying, hey, we won the division. There are no more divisions. So you really have to make a splash because winning the West is no longer something that's going to hold your job. I don't know that he's hit a wall, but I'm just throwing out thoughts at this point. So I think we'll see. But expectations are high for Brian, and I'm sure he's feeling anxious.
Yeah.
Guys, I also, if I could throw this out there, with the new expanded playoff, I think where you finish at the end of the season is going to have a lot to do with how things are going to look. Let's remember this is an LSU team that's won 10 games the last two seasons. So I mean, they've won ball games. The problem is that when you look at where they finish up the seasons as far as the AP rankings and the other stuff goes, in 23 they finished in the top 12, so they made it in. But in 2022 they finished in the top. They finished 15th. So the question is going to be, is their body of work going to be good enough to get them into a playoff? Will they be able to contend for the West? Coming off against the loss to what used to be a Pac-12 team, now is a Big Ten team, it's kind of up in the air. And again, like you said, if you didn't do it with Jaden Daniels, are you going to be able to do it at all? And
Right.
time will tell, but it's not a good look, especially when he's throwing temper tantrums and hitting desks like he's a 14-year-old boy.
Yeah, and that to me, so you're talking about has he hit a wall or not? I know on the eye tests, I kind of know what I want to say. I kind of want to say that maybe he has, but if I step back logically and think about it, I thought he was kind of an average coach at Notre Dame, but the environment's different, the recruiting's different, and each style doesn't, it doesn't fit everywhere. So maybe he does better at LSU. I don't know, but the hitting the table thing seemed like an act to me. It was almost like he was in his mind as he was talking. He thought about, you know what, I really need to look angry here, so people will think that I'm angry, so people won't be mad at me. And then just slammed his fist on the table as he thought that. That's really what it felt like to me. But I don't know. I think that as you said, with the expanded playoff, they can bounce back. It's not all over just with the one loss here, and if they finish strong, they can get back in the conversation for sure. But we'll see. They got a lot of adjustments that have got to be made, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
But I don't think you make it in with 3 losses.
No,
not with the
maybe.
loss to LSU.
Depends on who it's to.
Saying that.
But
They kept saying it on College Game Day. Oh, you could have 3 losses and make it in.
Saban said it.
I don't think you do.
I don't think you do.
Yeah.
I think there will be enough teams that have 2 or less losses that we will have them filled up 1 to 12. I think that makes it harder I think the expanded playoff almost makes it harder to keep your job, right? Because there's more slots available. So if you don't make those slots,
right, it's like, come on, dude, there's 12 slots now.
Yeah, you can't say anymore, well, there's only 4 slots. We were so close. We should have made it in. We were almost there,
Right.
That's not an argument anymore. And it almost feels like there's just an even wider playing field. I don't know that a team gets in with 3 losses. I really don't think that that's the thing. And calm down. I'm not saying LSU is going to have 3 losses. That's not what I'm saying at all. This is an overarching playoff critique.
Discussion. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think a team gets in with 3 losses. I disagree with Nick Saban on this, which hurts.
Yeah. Telling you. Well, with him being on game day now, it's bound to happen more and more because he's going to be sharing opinions like that. So
let's remember, guys, that this is an LSU team that has to play Ole Miss at home. They got to go to Arkansas. They got to go to Texas A&M, and then they got to play Alabama and Florida to wrap up the regular season.
They have a tough schedule.
I mean, they're not Mizzou. They're not just flying through high cotton here. They're going to have some tough games.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, speaking of upcoming games, let's go ahead and talk about the upcoming slate of games.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
All right, let's go ahead and talk about the first matchup, and that's Texas at Michigan. This is in the Big House up in Ann Arbor, noon on Fox. So if I'm picking here, Michigan has given me 0 reason to feel confident after their struggles against Fresno State. I am going to go with Texas in this one, in a close one, 27-21. Jesse, what do you got?
No, I'm unfortunately Harbaugh is gone. So is the cheaters more than likely. So I'm going to pick Texas in this one, 31-17, even at the Big House.
All right, Matt.
I really want to pick Michigan here, only because I feel like Michigan, coming off a national championship, should have a little bit of an edge, but they didn't look good this past weekend, and I wasn't really overly impressed with what they did. So yeah, I guess I'll have to go with Texas. I'm going to stick with my original guess, 28-23 Texas.
Okay. All right. Next is Arkansas at Oklahoma State. That's noon on ABC. I think lots of points going to be scored in this one. I'm going to take a chance this time. I'm going to say Arkansas is going to get the upset on the road, 35-31. But if they let me down, I'll have to play it pretty conservative with them the rest of the year. Jesse, what do you got?
I too am just invigorated by that score this weekend by Arkansas. Sam Pittman, we got that new / old OC in there. I'm picking the Razorbacks in this one, 24-21 in a close one.
All right, Matt.
Yeah, Oklahoma State gave up 20 points to San Diego State, or sorry, South Dakota State. So I got to think Arkansas's got a better offense, right? They've got to have better offense than South Dakota State. So surely Arkansas is going to find a way to win this thing 30-21.
All right, next is McNeese at Texas A&M, 12:45 on SEC Network. This one's going to be another one of those blowouts. I'm going to A&M 52-3. Jesse.
A&M's mad after that ending with Notre Dame. They're coming back. I'm going to pick the Aggies here, 38-6.
Okay, Matt.
Yeah, I don't foresee Texas A&M struggling here against 1-1 McNeese State. So yeah, give me TAMU 48-12.
All right, and then next is Tennessee Tech at Georgia, 2 p.m. on ESPN Plus. Yeah, this is Georgia didn't have one of those tune-up games the opening week. They get one this week. I'm going Georgia 63-0. Jesse, what do you got?
Yeah, this is not going to be fun for Tennessee Tech. I'm picking the Bulldogs in this one, 56-6.
Okay, Matt.
Yeah, I again, tune-up games are always fun until you're the team that's the one getting the tune-up. So, yeah, Tennessee Tech's not going to enjoy this. I have a sneaking suspicion Georgia's not going to call off the dogs, no pun intended, so to speak either. So I'm going to say that Georgia doesn't even give up a touchdown in this. I think Tennessee Tech gets a field goal, and that's about it. So I'm going to say 63-3, Georgia.
All right, and then California at Auburn. This is 3:30 on ESPN2. My only metric here is Cal started slow against UC Davis, whereas Auburn started strong against Alabama A&M and didn't look back. So I'm going to go Auburn here, 34-21. Jesse?
Hopefully Cal doesn't have too much jet lag going to the plains, but I'm going to pick the Tigers here. I think Auburn's going to do work and take care of business. So Tigers 38-14.
All right, Matt.
Alabama in the first week of September is still roughly kind of warm.
It was 98 degrees in Tuscaloosa on
Yeah,
Saturday.
yeah, that's exactly my point. Them Cowboys are not going to be
Humid.
used to that kind of heat. So I'm going to say Auburn wins this thing 38-24.
All right. Next, South Carolina at Kentucky, 3:30 on ABC. I believe this is the only interconference game of the weekend. So yeah, Kentucky looked good in their weather shortened game. Vandegrift looked great at quarterback. South Carolina looked bad. This is also at Kroger Field. So give me Kentucky 28-14. Jesse, what do you got?
Yeah. South Carolina. We'll check in again and see how you're doing next week. But I'm picking not Carolina. Sorry, I'm picking Kentucky 28-10.
All right, Matt.
Jesse, I was about to be really worried about you if you're picking Carolina here. If this was a night game at Kroger Field, I'd probably say like 42-20. But because it's a 3:30 kickoff, I think it's going to be a little bit more tempered. So I'm going to say 30-20 Wildcats.
Okay. All right, next is Middle Tennessee at Ole Miss, 4:15 on SEC Network. Last week Ole Miss put up video game stats. Not a ton different. I don't think they hang 70 though. I'm going Ole Miss 52-10. Jesse?
Oh yeah, Ole Miss is just going to continue to play lights out. This is still a cupcake team. So Ole Miss here, 63-3.
Okay, Matt. I'm buying into the Lane train. I think they're going to hang another 70 in this one. Let's remember this is a Middle Tennessee team that struggled with Tennessee Tech last week. So I think the Lane train's going to be fine. I'm picking Ole Miss 70-10 here.
Okay, I said 70 last week, and y'all looked at me like I was crazy. But you never know.
We've learned our lesson, Wes.
All right, next is South Florida at Alabama, 7 p.m. on ESPN. Yeah, so I think Bama's just going to kind of pour it on more in this game as well. So I got Bama 42-17. Jesse?
Yeah, give me more DeBoer. Bama 52-6.
Matt?
Yeah, nothing's going to change here. Bama's going to Bama 48-10.
All right. Next, Buffalo at Missouri, 7 p.m. on ESPN Plus. Yeah, I mean, Mizzou's going to dominate. I got the score being 42-6. Jesse, what do you got?
Yeah, this is another boring one. MIZ 45-9.
MIZ. Matt, what do you got?
My question is, does Missouri stand on business this week? I would imagine that they probably will. By the way, I haven't forgot about that, Mizzou fans. Don't think I ever will.
No.
Yeah. Again, I like Missouri winning. I'm gonna say 45. I'm gonna say 45-14. I'm gonna say a miscue gets Buffalo an extra touchdown they probably wouldn't get otherwise.
By the way, I'm still sticking with that meme that I put on the TikTok of remember the SNL skit, the cling cling cling, oh you capping. Remember that? Yeah, it's like this is Drinky in the locker room trying to be
Oh
relevant.
God.
So, all right, next is Samford at Florida, 7 p.m. on ESPN Plus. Florida is going to get back in the win column here, 49-10. Jesse, what do you got?
They better. If you're playing a night game in the swamp against Samford and you lose,
Yeah.
it's just honestly, don't go to work on Monday. Just leave. Just leave. Don't even leave a note. We already
Fair.
know. But I am going to pick the Gators in this one, 31-10.
All right, Matt.
Guys, listen, we're only 3 years removed from that Samford Florida game in 21 that was 70-52. So I'm going to pick Florida. I'm going to go with Florida. I think Florida finds a way to win this thing. But I think Samford's going to make it close. I'm going to say 28-24.
Okay. All right. An exciting one.
The wheels have come off in Gainesville, and I don't foresee them getting back on.
Yeah.
I'm getting serious Butch Jones vibes.
Oh no.
In 2018, that's where I'm at right now. So,
All right. Hopefully, none of the players fall on a helmet or something like that. So,
still 5-star hearts.
It's
regardless of
5-star
what
hearts.
happens.
Yeah, champions. Yep,
Champions
champions of life. All right, Nichols at LSU, 7:30 on ESPN Plus. LSU, like Florida, gets back in the win column after a loss. I'm going LSU 62-6. Jesse, what do you got?
Poor Nichols having to go into Death Valley at a night game so early. Bless those young men. I'm going to pick the Bayou Bengals here, 45-6.
All right, Matt.
If you don't think they're going to look to make a statement with this game, they're going to, because it's a night game at Death Valley. Nicholls State's 0-1. Like, they're going to come out guns blazing. I'm going to say LSU wins this thing big, 56-6.
All right, and then next, maybe one of the more exciting games of the week, and that's Tennessee at NC State. And that's at 7:30 on ESPNU, and that's a neutral site game, right? I've neglected to write
In
it down.
Charlotte.
Yeah. All right, so yeah, NC State was losing to Western Carolina when the fourth quarter started, and I think even though they got their win, I think their fans are a little concernicus, as you'd say, Matt. I expect Nico to be tested, but I expect him to have a good game. So I'm going Tennessee is going to win here 35-21. Jesse, what do you got?
Yeah, despite NC State wanting to get things, kind of back on track and get rid of any doubts here, I think the Vols are going to come in and do business. So I'm going to pick Tennessee 41-10.
All right, Matt, what you got?
There was some shenanigans a couple of years ago with NC State's head coach maybe potentially coming to Tennessee when we hired Heupel, and NC State's not that far from Knoxville, so there's a little bit of a kind of sort of rivalry there. We've played them a couple times over the last couple of years. However, I think Nico is going to go buck wild in this game. I was really impressed with how he looked this past week. Granted, take it with a grain of salt because it is Chattanooga, but I still think Tennessee's going to find a way to win this thing easy. I'm going to say 45-28 Vols.
Okay. Next is Alcorn State at Vanderbilt at 7:30 on ESPNU. Actually, I have a coworker who played at Alcorn State. Shout out to Derek if he's watching. But so yeah, I think Vandy's gonna take care of business here. I'm going Vandy 42-3. Jesse, what do you got?
I think Vandy is on a high right now, and I honestly hope the best for them. So I'm going to pick the Commodores here, 31-21.
All right, Matt.
Yeah, I think Vandy's going to continue to build on the success from this past weekend. So 30-10 Vandy.
Okay. All right, next is Houston at Oklahoma, 7:45 on SEC Network. Yeah, this is going to be probably not that much of a challenge for Oklahoma. I'm going OU 42-10. Jesse, what's your pick?
Yeah, I have to agree. A night game in Norman's not going to be too much fun for Houston. So I'm going to pick the Sooners here, 41-14.
Matt?
Yeah, I don't foresee Oklahoma having too much trouble with this. I'm trying to see who Houston played last week to see if I can get an idea. They lost to UNLV 27-7. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and go with Oklahoma here, 42. I was gonna say 42-14, but now that I look at it, I'm gonna say 42-7.
Okay. All right, and then closing it out, we got Mississippi State at Arizona State. That's a 10:30 kickoff on ESPN. Yeah, a lot of things for both of these teams to prove, I think. Mississippi State looked great in week 1, right, against a lesser opponent. But I think they take a step back here. I would love for them to prove me and many others wrong, but I'm going to go Arizona State 31-24 here. Jesse, what do you got?
It's going to be such a late game.
Really late. You're gonna just TiVo it and you can watch it the next morning.
There you go.
Yeah, this is not fun. I'm gonna pick the Bulldogs here just
Okay.
because I want to. There's no reason for it. I just want to. They're gonna start a little sleepy for sure, and they might get down at half, but I think they're gonna come back. I think it's gonna be a nail biter, but I'm gonna pick the Bulldogs here, 28-27.
Okay, Matt.
A 10:30 kickoff on the East Coast is just ridiculous. But that being said, I like ASU's chances here. I don't think Mississippi State's gonna. That it's a different kind of heat down there. It'll be night games, so it's gonna be a little cooler. But I don't foresee Mississippi State being able to hang in this one. I'm gonna say Mississippi State loses 35-30.
Okay. All right. Well, that does it for the upcoming games. I'm looking forward to this upcoming week. We've got some good matchups coming up. And that'll do it for this week's episode. If you guys would like to contact us, please email us at pigskinsandpageantry@gmail.com. Don't forget, we are at Pigskins and Pageantry on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. We are at PPSEC Podcast on X. And don't forget, we're available for download on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, TuneIn Radio, and most podcasting apps for iPhone, Android, and other operating systems. If you guys enjoyed the show, please take a moment, subscribe, and review. We'd love that 5 stars to increase visibility. And we are really appreciative. Thanks for everyone who's subscribed over the past week. For real, I mean, that's been like exponential growth on YouTube, on TikTok. It's been great. We appreciate everyone joining in the conversation. So look forward to more of that. And until next time, this is Wes. Go Dogs.
All right, y'all. Let's get some more DeBoer. I'm loving where we're at. SEC football's back, and eventually we'll all start playing real opponents. Roll Tide.
Jesse, I know you have a soft spot in your heart for Wolves, but this is not a good week for them. Vols are going to come out running. It's going to be a good time. Go Nico, go Big Orange. We'll see you next week, guys.